What's up, Giants fans? Paul here from Big Apple Sports. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today I have three pieces of good news that I'm going to talk about for the Giants, a trifecta, if you will. So let's just hop right on into it. So the first thing, and I know a lot of people have been waiting for an update, and I think some people will probably take this negatively, but I actually think this is a big time positive, and that is the news on Malik Nabers. So, Dan Duggan reported he underwent a second surgery on his knee to remove scar tissue that was causing stiffness, according to sources. I'm told the second surgery took place multiple weeks ago, and it was described as a cleanup. This second surgery isn't expected to impact Nabers' recovery timeline. The team is still hoping the number one wide receiver will be ready for the opener. He obviously first underwent ACL and meniscus surgery on October 28th. So, a lot to unpack here. I have, there's a few doctors on like the internet who I kind of trust a little bit who have kind of made a living instead of talking about patients in their own office. They talk about football players for the sake of fantasy football. So we'll look at one of those in a second. But first, I think what people like, because I think a lot of people are going to panic and say, oh my gosh, he just had a second surgery. Obviously, things are terrible. The sky is falling. He's never going to be the same again. I think I saw somebody in the comments mention Derrick Rose 2.0. Like, this is not the case. This is so normal for ACL surgeries. And I think it makes sense when you watch like the videos that have come out of him. He looked stiff, and there's been plenty. I could pull up a bunch of different articles of different players. I didn't feel like spending all that time diving into it, but like it has happened many times where a player tears his ACL, he has a surgery. As he's coming back, he's a little stiff. They scope out the knee. I mean, it happens for all sorts of different injuries, but it's not uncommon at all for the knee. And then it helps the stiffness, helps with having full range of mobility back, and it's not a big deal. One of the fantasy football doctors I was talking about, he said, look, better now than later for Malik Nabers. View this similarly to when J.K. Dobbins required scar tissue debridement, I think is the word. It has likely hindered his progress / ramp up to date so far. And I think that's kind of what we've been hearing is that like there was the one video where he was still using a cane, and I think a lot of people have been like, what's going on? It was the scar tissue that needed to be cleaned out. He said he could cut it close to be active week 1, and I think that's kind of been what we've been hearing from reports. It all depends on if he hits his milestones. The physically unable to perform list is an option for weeks 1 through 4. And then he just added, he posted a video that had come out a couple months ago and said, this completely tracks with what we saw in this video. His knee just looked stiff and didn't have his normal mechanics yet. So this guy's not falling, even if he ends up missing a couple games. Like, it is what it is. The same thing happened with Andrew Thomas last year, where he kind of had to be on the physically unable to perform list all of preseason. He even, I think, missed 2 games, I want to say. And then he came back, was completely fine, solidified our offensive line. I'm not worried about it at all. It's completely within the realm of possibilities that he is back for week 1. I don't expect to see him at all in the training camp or the preseason. It's possible he's on the physically unable to perform list all the way until week 1, and then he still plays that first Sunday night game. We don't know for sure until it happens. But at the end of the day, for one, he's eventually going to come back just fine. This wasn't a setback. This isn't like a second knee injury that he's going to have to recover from. It was just a cleanup, make sure all that scar tissue is gone and he can have his full range of motion. And then he's going to be able to, even if he misses a couple games, this team did a great job bringing in other wide receivers this offseason. Like last year, Jackson Dart, for the majority of the season, did not have, I don't think he had Malik Nabers at all, but the majority of the season, it was Wan'Dale Robinson, a little bit of Darius Slayton. He missed some times too. And then it was Bo Collins, Gunnar Olszewski, Jalen Hyatt. Like, Jameis Winston was out there as receiver. Like, that was when he started as QB. But the point is, like, it's not like we saw Jackson Dart with wide receiver ones all over the field last year and that was his success. He had far worse last year than he will when he comes out with Darnell Mooney, Kelvin Austin, and Malachi Fields, plus Isaiah Likely, plus all they've brought in to build this power running game. They'll be completely fine if he misses a couple games, and it's entirely possible he misses no time at all. So not worried one bit about Malik Nabers. I take this as a good sign. It's an explanation, like if nothing else, this explains why he's been stiff, why he had a cane, and that it's not like something permanent. It's just something they needed to clean up. So not a big deal at all. Second bit of good news is I really liked the interview Brian Burns did. There were several things I took from it that I think were extremely positive. First, I love that he's already talking about, like, we are coming for the Cowboys week 1. I know the last time we started the season, I don't think he was even on the Giants at this time. But even he was like, I know the last time we started the season on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, they whooped us 40-0, and we are not going to take that. We are coming back to redeem ourselves this time. And I love that. I love it's good for the rivalry, good for the NFL. I love that they already are looking ahead to week 1, ready to play. But I think the biggest thing I was happy to hear about from Brian Burns is just hearing him talk about Dexter Lawrence. Because if you remember, before Dexter Lawrence was traded, he made the comment, I don't want to play on a Giants team that doesn't have Dexter Lawrence. And it hasn't been talked about a ton since the Lawrence trade, but I think some people were like, did we just upset one of our best defensive players? But he came out and he said, man, I've been in this league long enough to understand next man up whenever somebody leaves. I was just really going to bat for my teammate. And, like, I completely respect that. Like, that's your boy. You play in the trenches with him every day. You're going to go to bat for him, try to get him his money. I respect that. And, he went on to say, like, of course I don't want to play without him because that's my friend, along with he's a great player. But we got some things out of it, and we just got to move on. And we'll talk about that, one of those things he's got in a minute. But I also like he's kind of embracing that, like, he's the longest tenured defensive player. He was asked if he kind of views this defense as his defense now that Dexter Lawrence is gone, and he's like, yeah, that's how I'm kind of looking at it. It's kind of a nod to what I've done and the success that I've had. I don't take that lightly at all, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I love hearing that from him because this is a defense, they got a lot of dudes, a lot of really good talent. But especially on that defensive line, there's a lot of young players who need a good vocal leader like Brian Burns. Like, I think he's going to be great for Abdul Carter, even Kayvon Thibodeau, even though he's a little older, Darius Alexander, Arvell Reese, like all these guys, good to have a veteran leader who's embracing that role. So I'm happy to hear about that. And as for, Brian Burns saying, like, hey, we got a little bit back in that trade as well. Let's not forget, that was Francis Maui-Noa, and he is a part of this violent, physical football team that John Harbaugh is bringing. Jackson Dart came out this week. He was doing an interview and just said, like, look, we are going to be so versatile. It starts there. I can't wait for all my boys to be back healthy. I'm excited for the pieces that we brought in. They're going to help us a ton. We're going to be a physical, violent team. And obviously, Maui-Noa is going to be a big part of that. He commented on how hyped he is hearing that Maui-Noa said he was ready to die for him. You can just tell this team is excited to play. They're excited to play for each other. It just feels like the culture has been restored in New York. And that's really good to see. Last thing that I see it as good news. I'll be asking you guys to comment below, see if any of you are disappointed about it. But the NFL has officially announced their international games for this year. There are 9 international games this year, which is crazy. And it sounds like the Giants were in line to potentially be in one of 2 different games. There was talk about them maybe playing the Commanders in London, and there was talk about them playing the Lions in Germany. And it turns out it's going to be Colts Commanders in London week 4, and it's going to be Patriots versus Lions in Germany. And this is big for me for a couple reasons. Like, the international games are fun. Like, it's always a good day when you can wake up watch football from 9 a.m. till midnight. Like that's a good day. I don't mind, like I enjoy watching the international games sometimes. I'll get into that in a second. But it's tough on these teams. For one, like a lot of these games end up being just really ugly games. I pulled up from last year. I don't know if anybody remembers that Broncos-Jets game that happened in London where the Jets had negative net passing yards because Fields was sacked 9 times. There were 24 total points scored in the game. There was a safety the second after, like it was 10-6 in the first quarter, and then the rest of the game was 5-3. Just an ugly, sloppy, nasty game. Neither team looked good. And then the Broncos came back the next week and lost for 3 quarters to the Giants before that ridiculous comeback. But I think what happens with these international games is you're faced a lot of times with a tough situation. Because like Commanders, Colts, that's week 4. Like if you have a bye week, week 5, that stinks. Nobody wants a bye week that early and you're playing 13 games in a row heading into the playoffs. That's awful. That's the worst time to have a bye week. And they do give you that option. They gave that to the Broncos last year, and the Broncos chose, like, nope, we want our late bye week. We'll just play coming back from London without any extra rest. And they came out so sluggish in that Giants game. The Giants punched them right in the mouth. I don't even want to get into the fourth quarter because I'm still sick to my stomach that they blew it. But like you could tell, that was a sluggish Broncos team trying to recover from an international flight like just a few days before. So like I'm thrilled that they don't have that week 4 game against the Commanders, because then you're in that tough spot where it's like you might have an ugly game against the Commanders flying to London before your game. You might have an ugly game the next week, or you might have to use your bye week in week 5 way earlier than anyone would want to see it. And then the Germany game was week 10. That's not a bad time to have your bye week 11. So that wouldn't be the end of the world. But it's still like these international games are, like I said, a lot of times they're pretty ugly. Like it's not easy to fly to Germany Sunday to Sunday and be ready to play in an NFL game adjusted to the time change, all that. So I'm happy they're not playing in any of them. I could have lived with the week 10 one. The week 4 one would have been awful, but I think it's a win not to be in an international game, and we'll see. Schedule comes out tomorrow. I'm super hyped to kind of dive through it all and see what advantages or disadvantages the Giants come through. So make sure you're subscribed so you can get that video tomorrow. But it'll be interesting to see if they end up having a situation like last year where they get a team coming after an international trip and get kind of a big-time advantage there. We'll see what happens, but you guys, let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts on Nabers, on Burns, on the international games. I like talking. I can't always respond. I work a full-time job and just do this on the side. I have 4 kids, so I can't respond as much as I would like to, but I always read your guys' comments, and I always super appreciate you guys taking the time to do it. And sometimes you guys will comment on each other's too, and I love that because it's just fun to have a Giants community here. So make sure you comment below so I can read those and hopefully respond to a few of them, and I'll catch you with some more Giants content tomorrow.